You also survived a violent attack in 2022. And I was wanting to go to that in terms of how it maybe changed your mothering.
It was a day like any other, a day on June 16th of 2022 that I pulled into that office building. Then I took that last sip of Himalayan sea salt water. And as soon as I opened my car door, there he was. You see, it was a man I had never seen before. I asked the man quickly, "Sir, can I help you?" And within seconds, his fist hit my face. He grabbed me by the hair and he threw me to the asphalt pavement. He proceeded to punch me 4, 5, 6 more times. But at that point, I wasn't even counting. Felt like a rag doll and not a human. I did everything to fight, to spit, to scream, to try to get away. And his wrath, his 210 pounds over me as an ex-boxer and someone who had a history of rage, took over. And he proceeded to strangle me. And I thought that was going to be my last breath on earth. I thought it was going to be the last moment that I was going to be the mom to Drew and Adeline, the last moment that I would be the wife to Andy, the last moment that I could live what I thought was my big, bold, audacious life. And the story goes on, and I could fill you in with all the details, but that's the crux of it. And what I want to remind everyone is that that was my punch. But everyone listening has had a punch in their life. Perhaps it was by burnout. Maybe it was the bitter divorce you went through. Maybe it's the sick child right now. Maybe it was the parent you lost last month. The financial woes that keep you up at 2 a.m. Whatever it is, we've all had our punch. And so my punch is no different than your punch. It's just we've all had a different type of punch.
Sure.
But those punches can bring us to the ground. And there were so many people at the time. My kids were 6 and 8. They were with the sitter. My husband was in Kansas City. And you see, I didn't know if I was going to live or what my life was going to look like. And I will tell you, it was that moment, those 72 hours that were an utter blur, and the police and the detectives and the reports and the doctors and the nurses, that life, I really wanted to be that victim. And it was when I was actually home a few days later where I put that hooded sweatshirt on. It was the middle of June, and the tears are dripping down my face that's cut and broken, and just feeling so vulnerable to even be scared to be in my own backyard. And in that moment, it was the laughter of my children. You see, they were playing in the pool right next to me. And what I realized in that moment, that connection was my oxygen. Being their mom was going to make me go from being a victim to a survivor to a thriver. And in that, every punch does not happen that quickly. So if you've been in your punch for a while, please don't compare your timeline to my timeline. We all deal with punches differently in our lives. But what I want to remind you is that when you start to make it about someone else and you realize that your story can actually be the light for someone else, man, it made me change the way that I was a mom, made me change the way I was a wife, it made me change the way that I connected with people, it made me change the way that I didn't know if tomorrow would be the last day that I would be on this earth, and I needed to treat every day to that level. And what I didn't know also is that what I thought living that big, bold, audacious life, I was really playing small. I was really playing in my little hard hat and my steel toe boots and walking into suburbia, corporate America, and thinking like I was living this big, bold, audacious life. And what I realized is I needed to show my kids that life could be so much bigger. That what I was really playing was not the life that I truly wanted to live. And it wasn't until this punch happened that I actually started taking my life to a whole nother level. And it's been such a gift. A gift that I get to show my kids. I don't think I would have wrote the book or been a TEDx speaker or been, a top podcaster or been speaking on all these stages and sharing my message on social media if that punch hadn't happened. So how can you take your punch and turn it into purpose? How can you take your punch and turn it into passion? How can you take your punch and be there for other people because of it?
So how did that affect your mothering? Like, can you go a little bit? I know you talked about it a bit, but I mean specifically, how did that affect you only in the role as mom?
Yeah.
The empowerment is phenomenal.
What's that?
The empowerment for you is phenomenal in all these ways of your life, but just getting down to being a mom, what did that do just for that single role?
I think it just made me, again, their laughter just reminds me of those small moments and to be able to appreciate the little things that happen every day. So I started every day writing down 3 things that I'm so grateful for and being so specific, especially with my kids, that last night I got to read my daughter the Babysitter's Club book. And on page 18, I remember laughing at Samantha's outfit, right? Like being so specific so you start noticing more of that. I think being really intentional and being honest with your kids. I mean, obviously there were details that I kept my kids from, but I also did not hide them from what happened. And reminding them, like, you know, I think we got brought up thinking like, oh, well, everyone's nice and trust people and everyone's good, and reminding our kids that the world can be a tough place, right?
Yeah.
My kids know my perpetrator by name, and they'll be like, oh, like when blank did that to you, and they know it. They've seen the pictures. And to me, some people would say I would have sheltered them and not told them that story till they were 18. I don't feel like that was what I wanted to do as a parent. I wanted them to understand that things can happen, but it's what we do with it.
Totally. You're going into my next question. I wanted to know, what did your kids absorb watching you since 2022, so into year 4 now of rebuilding your life with intention?
So much. I mean, so much. And when I say that, I don't mean to brag or boast. I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, they've seen me be vulnerable. They've saw me go to court 11 different times. Now, they weren't in the courtrooms. They've seen me fight for this law that I'm trying to change in the state of Pennsylvania. So yes, I think they've seen a mom who has been so passionate about wanting to make a difference, but reminding them that they have a purpose too, and that sometimes those hard things are going to happen. And so when they don't make a team or they don't get the grade on their test, bringing that back to them and relating it like, hey, listen, mom's had those setbacks too. Mm-hmm. And I think, so to me, the biggest gift has been the gift of resiliency and the gift of adversity. And I think going into the real world, you know, there's so many kids that they don't learn that at an early age, not because the parent wants to not teach them that, but we all want to shelter and protect our kids. But sometimes if we protect them too much, then they go into the real world by themselves, and life can be really hard, right? You don't get the first job. College doesn't go the way that it is. Like, you're in a precarious situation, right? Like, teaching them these lessons. And I think also knowing that we have some real tough, honest conversations with each other, and that I hope when they have a tough conversation that they have to have 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they know that they can pick up the phone and that I will be there to listen to them for that.
You know what I love about your story that is, I think, so great for all parents to hear is we all go through difficult times in one way or another. And I've always said what we go through, our past does not define us, but it's defining. It's defining for how we're going to live our lives moving forward, how we're going to be treated, what we will and will not put up with, what we know we're worthy of. And your kids have watched you use the defining moment, and you're not defined from it. It's not who you are, but it has brought you through and made you stronger and made, allowed you to thrive. You've chosen to thrive.
And I love that you said that. I always say, listen, it didn't define me, it refined me. And I truly believe that we can get better when adversity happens, right?